Good evening, everyone. I am going to call the meeting to order for the Vacaville City Council meeting. Can we have a roll call, please?
Council Agency Authority members Harris?
Here.
Mashburn?
Here.
Sullivan?
Here.
Vice Mayor Beatty?
Here.
Mayor Chair Roulette.
I am here. Thank you very much. If everyone can please stand with me for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move to item 3, approval of the agenda. Mr. City Manager, I do believe we're pulling something from the agenda tonight.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I would like to pull item 9A from the agenda.
Okay. With that, can I have a motion with the amendment?
Move approval.
I have Beatty, Vice Mayor Beatty, and Harris. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mashburn? Councilmember Mashburn?
You might have dropped off the meeting.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beatty?
Aye.
Mayor Roulette?
Aye. Thank you. We'll move. Is Mashburn there? We have a 4-0. We'll move to item 4, approval of the minutes. Can I get
Move
a motion?
approval.
Second.
Harris and Beatty, roll call, please.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mashburn? Sullivan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beatty?
Aye.
Mayor Roulette?
Aye. Presentations, I see none. We will move to the consent calendar. If anyone from the City Council would like to pull anything from the consent calendar, I would like to start off by pulling both 6A and 6B. Are there anybody else that wants to pull anything? I guess the last item, does anyone want to pull 6C? Okay, we'll open it up to the floor. Does anyone want to pull 6C from the floor?
No hands.
Okay, I'll have a motion for item 6C.
Move approval.
Second.
Got Beatty and Harris. Can I have a roll call for 6C, please?
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mashburn?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beatty?
Aye.
Mayor Roulette?
Aye. And I'm going to actually start with 6B because 6A feeds 6B, so I think it would be better to start with 6B. 6B, obviously, as if anybody has read this, we came in over budget. You know, I'm nervous of what's coming up with our budget, with spending, and then to go over budget, especially right now with the COVID being in the construction industry. I know that there are a lot of people out there bidding work and the numbers are starting to come down. So I think, you know, we need to take another look at this and maybe bring it back and maybe try to get our numbers down, and, you know, make sure that our budget's going to coincide with this. So I'm going to ask to reject all bids, I guess, and that's it for 6B. If anybody on the council wants to chime in.
Yes, this is Harris. I would. So since you're in the construction industry, what is your expected timeline for when things might come down based on your assessment?
I know that, and obviously, you know, I've been in the construction industry for 20 years, but I can't predict it. I don't think anyone can, but you know, the overall feeling of the construction industry is construction costs are going to start to come down. We were at an all-time high. We all have been talking about it. This whole city council has been talking about all the projects that's been going through. I've watched the Vacaville Unified School District struggle with putting projects out because everybody was working. Everybody was, you know, actually in a good spot with the economy. Bids were going way up, and I noticed now bids are starting to come down. I think right now is not a good time to be in doing this project. I think we could put it off if, you know, you held my feet to the fire, maybe in 6 months, maybe in 4 months. You know, I think we would work with Public Works and see if we can get the number down, if there's anything we can do, and put it back out to bid. So I'm nervous about the budget, and obviously 6A we're going to talk about in a second. You know, we're going back to the budget to pull more money for this project. So that's why I'm asking to pull it tonight. So, so
I had one more question. This would be for staff. So I know sometimes in the past our estimates on what the cost of construction would be has been off. Sometimes it's high, sometimes it's low. And obviously it appears our budget, I guess, guesstimate on this was a little bit low. So is there any way to identify, was there something that on the, you know, city side that we could have done better to estimate this closer? Just a question.
Aaron, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, if I could defer to Tim Burke, our acting Public Works Director, to directly respond to that.
Thank you. Mr. Burke?
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I appreciate the time. When we opened bids on July 29th, just a couple weeks ago, we did receive 13 bids on the project. And, you know, bids 2 through 9 were in a very tight range of 3.3 million to 3.7 million. The low bidder was considerably lower at 3.1. And then, of course, we were at 2.75 million. And clearly, I think that was our mistake in our estimate. I think our estimate was low, and we relied on some numbers from our architects that were a little bit too low. And in evaluating the bids, it wasn't any one single item. It was a number of items that were estimated too low. And so our thinking is that our original estimate should have been much higher into the $3.3 million range.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
As well.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Councilmember Sullivan.
So my question really quickly for staff is, so looking through the item here, it is a kind of a quality of life item for staff out there at the courtyard. We've got locker rooms, we've got other common facilities. But the thing that worries me a little bit is asbestos. Can staff kind of speak to the situation of the current building and ultimately if there's any risks, especially from the asbestos to city staff and kind of what maybe the scope of the project and the importance of getting it moving either today or deferring? And that's my question. So I'm going to defer to Tracy Rideout, our senior engineer, in regards to the asbestos, potential asbestos materials out there. I mean, what we are talking about is a 30-year-old temporary building that we've been operating our public works maintenance admin staff out of. And then also we're renovating a building that is
was constructed in 1965. And we're going to continue to operate out of it, but it really hasn't been improved since then. So, Tracy, can you?
Good evening, council members and mayor. Asbestos is a common thing for construction of buildings of this age, and it's normally found in the mastic that's used to lay the floor tile. It's a pretty common occurrence, and I don't believe that it's a dangerous situation. That would occur in the bathrooms that are in the existing building that were built in the 60s era. And it's a common thing. Within the contract, we're supposed to test for it and remove it if we find it in any quantity. It's pretty standard. So I don't feel that that's a danger. There is more of a benefit than just quality of life to the corporation yard by the construction of the administration building, in that it does also provide public access to the administrative facilities out there, which do not currently exist without intermingling with the corporation yard activities. So there is also a safety aspect, and it brings a level of efficiency to the operation of the courtyard as well. Just add that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple more. I have a couple more questions if no one else.
Councilmember Harris, go ahead.
So it seems to me that this particular site is a bit challenging, as has already been mentioned, to get in and out of. And the public really, it's a challenge for them. But also those buildings are they're old and quite dilapidated, actually. And I was wondering, I mean, this is not general fund money. This is money that comes out of impact fees. And so it sounds to me like our engineers might have produced a, lower bid than, or lower estimates than what the market would actually, bear at the time. And so I'm wondering whether it would be something that, if we had done a little better job on estimating, that we would have been right in there. And it's really not a matter of the market change. It's a matter of having a more accurate estimate up front. So I'm just, I'm sort of just weighing both sides of it here, and 4 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever the guess is on when you might get a better bid, also puts us probably into the rainy season and then delays the job even more. So just something to think about.
Okay, thank you. We'll
Mr.
move
Mayor?
it to public comment. I'm sorry, who just spoke up?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, this is Mitch.
Okay, yes, go ahead, Councilmember Mashburn.
I just wanted to, a couple of observations. The first is that while the facilities do sound like they're in a state of disrepair and need a significant amount of repair, my question for the staff would be, how often and how much does the public access that administrative area? And then my second observation was, I think they said that there had been 13 bids that were submitted. And that's a significant number of bids for a project of this size, which tells me that you're correct about the market, and that the market is hungry for this type of work, and that we will probably see some type of change in the near future. Just based on my experience with these types of projects. So I would question one, how often the public accesses the facilities, and is it regular on a daily basis? We have people in and out of there where there's a danger. And then two, would it be prudent to have staff take a look at and give us a second estimate, so that sometime around mid-year, when we can consider this with other adjustments to capital projects, we could add the money and put it back out to bid?
Okay, thank you for the question. I'm going to turn over the question regarding how often the public accesses the site to our Deputy Director of Public Works, Brian McLean.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. That was a great question in terms of the amount of access at the courtyard from the public. It's actually fairly significant. My office is in the administration building. We produce various non-fee permits that we work with the public to provide. For example, the sidewalk repair program, we provide a non-fee permit, and individuals that are interested in getting their sidewalk repaired, just as an example, they come to the corporation yard to get their permits. Another big piece of the puzzle is that the corporation yard is where the central stores is located, and central stores is the receiving location for all of the mail and deliveries for the entire city. From that location, it's distributed throughout the various city facilities. So there is a significant amount of traffic, vendor and public that come into the administration building itself, as well as the corporation yard.
And then in regards to your second question about the number of bidders and it being them being hungry for the project, I do think that they were hungry for the project. That was shown in the number of bidders and kind of the tight range. Again, I kind of look back at this project and look at our original estimate, and I think our original estimate was low. We did do some investigation work in regards to what other commercial buildings in the Sacramento region are going for. And for a square footage price, this is on the lower end of that square footage price. So really, I think our base estimate was low. I think we did get a pretty good low bidder. And that company was nearly $200,000 less than that bulk of the range from 3.3 million. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So do you mind if I have one more question?
No, I don't mind at all. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is for staff again. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me like when you get a lot of companies bidding, it's because they don't necessarily have a lot of work. When they have a lot of work, you get less people bidding and the prices are higher. Am I like oversimplifying things here?
No, I don't think you're oversimplifying them at all. I think you're dead on. That happens a lot. So when we get 2 or 3 bidders, you get a wide range of bids, and frequently those are higher. We have seen the last month or so, our bids have come in with a number of bidders, a lot of bidders, including this one. And the prices on our other bids were lower than our estimate. This one, like I said, was higher than the estimate. I think the estimate was wrong.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And then now that you've brought that to light, I wasn't honestly going to bring that up. I don't like to throw our staff under any bus, but knowing the information that you just shared, I honestly think I'm even more willing to go against this, knowing that we should have done a better job. We should know exactly what we're coming in at. You've admitted now that, we are very low and that we should have done a better job doing the estimate. I'm going to stick with, I think we should throw this out. I think we should bring it back. I think we should do a better estimate down the road when we decide to put this back out. And again, I'm worried about our budget. I'm worried about what's going on in this world. I do want to get you a building, of course. I just think it's the timing, and we messed up on an estimate. And I think that the bidding climate is going to get better as we go. So with that, I'm going to open it up to public comment. If anybody from the public would like to weigh in.
Mr. Russell, I'll open your mic. Would you like to speak on 6B?
Yes, ma'am. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Greetings, everyone. Mine is just really short and quick, and I hate to keep beating a dead horse, but just the 3 million kind of bothers me. That again, to go back to the budget of how the budget is being doled out, so to speak, the funds disseminated. You know, we have an unfair proportion going to one particular entity, while, you know, things like this need to be addressed. And then it's time to search and scrounge and rob Peter to pay Paul kind of thing. So I would just, again, just like to urge city council and staff, just going forward, just, you know, keep these things in mind, that when we overfund certain entities, you know, other ones are going to tend to fall behind, and then we have these kind of unfortunate scenarios. So thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Any other callers?
Caller ending in 211, I'll open your mic.
Hi, this is Alicia Minion. Can you hear me?
Yes, Alicia, go ahead.
Great. So, and looking at these items, I was wondering if the environment is unfavorable at this time for numerous reasons. I'd like to know, is how long will this expenditure be deferred? And if it is being deferred, I mean, is it possible that the scope of the project will change and you'll have to basically redo the bid process? The other question I have is, if you are going to defer this project and you have these dedicated development impact fees that are sort of sitting aside, that were, I'm assuming, set aside for some period of time for this specific purpose, is it going to just sit aside being unspent, or is it possible that it'll get diverted to some other project? And then lastly, this project I noticed is near the bus station? I was just wondering, is it a possibility that this project will be completely, entirely abandoned, and then the administrative building could possibly be moved to another site, and this could just be another apartment complex? I'm just wondering kind of what are all the possibilities that you have in mind? Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other callers, or should we get staff to answer those questions? Are there any other callers?
I see no hands.
Okay, well, we'll take it back to Mr. Burke if you want to take that, or Mr. City Manager, do you want to take that?
Tim, are you available to answer some of the specifics?
Yeah,
Okay.
I can still answer that. So I don't see us really we'll look at the scope of the project to see if there's any items that could be cut to narrow it down. I do believe that the bidding climate is pretty good right now. So if we did delay it, as the mayor put it, you know, we would be delaying it, 4 months, 6 months, and look at the bidding climate at that point. I don't see adjusting the budget until we get ready to go out to bid, and we would look at our estimates at that time then, and see if we need to add money to the project. As far as moving the admin building over to the transit center, I don't see doing that. The areas that are vacant over at the transit center are not really zoned for public facility, and we want to keep our corporation yard all together with our corporation yard admin staff, and so with our operations staff. So I don't see moving it. I think that was her last question.
Okay, thank you very much. I close public comment. So since I pulled it off, I'll make the motion
I have one
to,
more. If you don't mind.
oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, is that Sullivan?
Yeah, no worries. So one more quick question, and this is for Melinda. Melinda, this is probably the first situation I've been involved in this. So my one concern is that the city gets sued all the time. So if we close this today and one of the bidders who didn't get the award comes back in, let's say $1,000 under Koch Environmental's bid, would that give Koch Environmental any grounds for litigation against the city? Would that open us up to any liability? I think even if maybe we'd have a leg to stand on, unfortunately, we get sued all the time and we have to cover the legal costs, and those could be in the couple hundreds of thousands. Is there any possibility that would happen, or is this sort of par for the course for normal purchasing procedures, or does this open up any sort of window for litigation if we toss this and one of the higher bidders comes in below Koch at a later date?
Thank you, Councilmember Sullivan. I don't see that there would be any merit to a lawsuit on the grounds that you're talking about. There actually is a section of the Public Contracts Code that allows the city in its discretion to reject all bids and rebid the project. So pursuant to that statute, I think we're on good grounds if that is the direction the council wants to take.
Awesome, thank you. That makes me feel better.
And then I'll stand by motion, throw all bids out, and direct staff to make sure we go back and look at whatever we can cut the cost down, and to make sure we're bidding, getting a real estimate on it. And with that, that's my motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Mashburn, can we get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Mashburn?
Aye.
Sullivan?
I go yes.
Vice Mayor Beatty?
Aye.
Mayor Roulette?
Aye. And with that, we'll move to 6A, which basically was to fund the extra money. So I would just say no to this one, but I'll open it up to any council members. And if not, I'll open it up to the floor. Okay, is anybody calling in from the public?
No hands from the public.
Okay, I'll make a motion to just say no to this.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mashburn?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beatty?
Aye.
Mayor Roulette?
Aye. And we will move to item 7, business from the floor. This is time to address the council with issues that are not on the agenda and that are within the council's subject matter jurisdiction. Do we have anyone on the phone tonight?
Mr. Russell, I'll open your mic.
Good evening again, folks. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly. Thank you.
It's just a crazy world we live in where you can't even know. You have to ask people, can you hear you? Oh, well, anyway, I would just like to just take this time again to reiterate the importance of the human beings that live in this city of Vacaville. I asked the last time that Mr. Mayor and Police Chief Carley make a public announcement that you stand and support the Black community. And I just want to say this for clarification. I understand there's some hard feelings either way, some opinions, some assumptions, some theories about this whole Black Lives Matter organization, movement, unit, group, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get lost in the politics of the matter of importance of Black lives. I really just want to focus on the physical aspect of Black lives, take all politics out of who's representing us, in air quotes. It is important that we understand our our role in history. And it's also important for the city leaders to understand our role in history and how magnificent we were in designing and building this country as a financial empire that it is, and to continue with its stronghold on the world's economic stage. And I think after listening to or participating in the town hall that Chief Carly put on, in no way is disrespecting, but he dismissed a lot of the concerns of the people of color on that call. And it was almost a slap in the face, because it seemed to me like the whole purpose of that town hall was to get the input and the feeling and the tone of the people of color in the city. And it was dismissed almost on call. And that was kind of disheartening as a Black man living here in this city. So again, I would just ask for the mayor, Chief Carly, to stand up, get out front. And I know the people, the patriots in this town, will jump on and say, hey, our police are doing a great job. And I understand that. All it takes is one event, and that's going to be a problem. So I would ask you guys to get out in front of it, address it. You see what's going on in Fairfield. They hired a known murderer as a police officer from the city of Vallejo. I'm not saying you guys will do that. I'm just saying it'd be so much easier if we knew that the leaders of this city stood with our lives and the importance of it. Folks, have a great evening. Until next time, be well.
Thank you, sir. And typically I don't respond, but since you called me out directly, I did respond. And I do believe Black Lives Matter. And I said it in a statement here at a city council meeting. I also put it in the Vacaville magazine. And I'm sorry that you haven't seen that, but I do support Black Lives. And I've been out there and I put it out there and I publicly stated it and I put it in the magazine. So I hope you could hear that. I hope you heard that. And we'll move on to the next caller. Are there any other callers?
Hello.
Yeah, are there any other callers? Crystal?
There's a bunch of hands raised, Ron.
Crystal, are you there?
We're checking into it, Mayor.
Okay.
Hello, am I unmuted?
You are unmuted right now. Are you a caller?
Yes, I'm a caller. I'm not Crystal. This is Sarah Palmisano. Y'all know me well.
Oh, yes, Sarah, go ahead.
All right. You guys are undoubtedly aware of the letter that was sent to council this week. Now that you have been notified that Raymond Beatty's appointment is invalid, does he plan to step down? Do you plan to take action? And also, why haven't the FOIA requests that have been requested for Ron Rowlett's emails been honored? They were filed months ago. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller. Crystal, are we having technical difficulties? All right, please bear with us.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, is this Crystal?
It is.
Okay, yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Jennifer Stetson, I'll open your mic.
Thank you. Jennifer, are you there?
Sorry, I guess I was muted. Good evening. My name is Jennifer Stetson, and I have been a resident of Vacaville for over 10 years now. I am a journeyman pipe fitter with United Association Local Union 342. I'd like to address the article in the Daily Republic about Councilman Beatty's appointment. I'd also like to understand how this possibly could have happened. My local union follows bylaws set down in our charter, and we use Robert's Rules of Order, as do many union charters, to govern our processes. I am very active in my local union's politics, so I am aware, for instance, that if an appointment is made by our business manager of an individual to an elected position, that we must have an election for that post within 90 days, whether that means it falls within the timeline of regular election proceedings, or if we have to call a special election. The state of California has similar rules in place for appointments to elected offices as well. Our elected officials in Vacaville and the city attorney, whom 2019 records indicate we paid a salary of $227,492, which, with the addition of benefits and pension, came out to $392,814.43, claiming to be ignorant of these laws and Vacaville Municipal Code? If ignorance is the plea, it seems hardly plausible, given that halls full of tradesmen can conduct their business in a legal and ethical manner by adhering to similar laws our state is governed by. And if ignorance is not the claim, then are we to understand that elected officials of our city conspired to deprive Vacaville citizens of their legal right to vote and fill an elected position with their collective choice in the spirit of cronyism? And if this matter is not resolved by adhering to California laws and the city instead chooses to challenge it in court, are we then to understand that the claim of wanting to save money on a special election is money that said officials are perfectly at ease with spending in order to subvert the democratic process? I know I don't speak for only myself when I say that I am deeply uneasy about our city's elected officials in this course of action, especially if it's not rectified in an expeditious manner with respect to the election process that is integral to our city government. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm actually going to stop public comment because I obviously see that there's going to be at least the two that just called in. I think this probably will be the time I'm going to ask our city attorney to step up and let everyone know that we did nothing illegal, so we don't just get battered over the head over and over. This is obviously something that is interested in all parties. So I'm going to ask our city attorney to clarify that we did not do anything wrong. Can you speak on this?
So what I can say is that the city at the time of the appointment back in late 2018, 2019, followed a process that is absolutely supportable and defensible. It followed a process that's allowed by state law. We made our, every effort to be transparent and follow a good process. And I'm not sure what else I can say at this moment.
Okay, thank you. We'll take next caller.
Julia Ralston-Thomas, I'll open your mic.
Hello, Council. I did still have a further question regarding the process with which the new procedure for filling a vacant seat came about. It seems that a mayoral appointment kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody was asking for it. Everybody seemed, at least to my recollection, everybody at the meeting seemed to be asking for a special election. The council appointment was also on the table. I just don't know where the mayoral appointment came from. Was that a suggestion from the city attorney? Was that something that was just kind of thought up? What other jurisdictions use the mayoral appointment as opposed to a council appointment or a special election? It seems like that process itself was, it just came out of nowhere, and I'd like to know where that came from. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller, please.
Libby Cullinan, I'll open your mic.
Hello, my name is Libby Cullinan, obviously. I'm a resident of Vacaville. I've lived in Vacaville for the last 19 years of my life. And in that time, I've seen many beautiful things come out of this city, and I've seen many pretty devastating things happen in this community. What I would like to address today, which is several things, is I think it's very interesting, Mayor, that you're talking about concern for the budget. One, that is exactly what we were protesting in the streets in June, over $42 million being funded to the police, when we were saying that money could be allocated to somewhere else in the community and would benefit us a lot more. That being said, the town hall meeting we had with the chief was horrific. Chief Carley did nothing but dismiss people of color, people's experiences with mental health crises. Nothing was answered and nothing was solved. And to reiterate something that's been said in several town hall meetings, you know, Vacaville PD has a very strong social media presence. And why haven't they said Black Lives Matter? And again, to you, ma'am, typing Black Lives Matter is one thing, but coming forward and actually saying it with your whole chest is a whole nother thing. You can type it in whatever Facebook post or Vacaville magazine you'd like to, but saying it is different. And we've been in these streets every single week for several months. And I have only seen violence and opposition from the residents of Vacaville and from your police department. On Sunday, your police department attempted to run over several people, two drivers. One was walking and one was in their car. And it is also definitely not appropriate to have the police calling people who allegedly attend protests to find out more information about those protests. To be very clear, no one protesting in Vacaville would like to work with the police department. And I believe we've made that pretty clear. So we would appreciate if the calls would stop. It is hilarious that you were talking about concerns for the budget when your budget is insane. And the money being allocated towards the community is minuscule. Towards special education, almost nothing. There are people in these streets dying. There are people in these streets overdosing. There are people in these streets not getting any education at all. And your mayor and city council aren't doing anything about it. And as a citizen of this city, I am concerned. And I am concerned for my safety and the safety of my peers.
Livy, I'm gonna ask you to wrap it up. You hit your 3 minutes.
I'm done. I give my time.
Okay, and I did do a statement. I actually spoke at a city council meeting, and I did do it vocally. So, but we do appreciate your comments. Do we have another caller?
Ian, I will open your mic.
Thank you.
Ian, are you there?
Hello? Hi.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi. My question is actually for City Attorney Melinda Stewart. The legislative actions enacted by this mayor's appointment of council members Beatty among, and then the subsequent repeal of the electoral process directly after the primary elections of the city. I don't know the politically correct term for this, but you stole our votes. Every resident of Vacaville's vote was stolen. And I don't know why more people are outraged about this. My question is really, can you admit what you've done to be unconstitutional and anti-democracy? Or do you admit your abilities to be inadequate for your role, especially given your exorbitant raises over the last few years? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next caller.
Connor, I will open your mic.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to mainly talk about our schools. During the pandemic, we've needed more funding, obviously, but we've needed investment for a long time. Class sizes are just far too large, in my opinion, and teachers aren't paid enough. Teachers shape and change the lives of our future generations. And seeing that you are giving more funds to the police department is, upsetting. Mr. Rowlett, you have said that you love and care about Vacaville and its citizens, so I am sure you would want to invest in our future. I assume you want our children to have healthy school meals, so why not invest in and work with local farms to achieve that? My main question is, why give more funds to our police department rather than invest that money into our schools, teachers, children, and ultimately our future? Please state the specific reason our police department needs those funds more than our schools. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next caller.
Ravante Robinson, I'll open your mic.
Oh yeah, I'm so happy. This is like the first city council meeting I went to where everyone who spoke, I agreed with. But so I just want to start by saying, I agree with everyone who's talking about, the whole Raymond Biddy election. I didn't like that thing. It was, I spoke at that meeting when y'all decided to go along with the mayor appointment and all that stuff. I don't want any more puppets on the council. You feel me? And so I also just wanted to speak about, the whole Black Lives Matter thing. We've had plenty of protests, and I'm sure you know about it because the police have been calling my phone. So, you can make it out to one, definitely. I would love to have you there, and you can really speak on it right there. You know what I'm saying? You can speak in front of the people. And then, last thing I would just want to say is that I thought it was kind of weird at the most recent protest that I was at. The cops were driving hella crazy. I don't know why. I don't know what they were trying to do. They were probably trying to scare us or something, but they were driving hella crazy, and they were just pulling up to people walking across the street and stuff and just taking pictures of them with one of their cell phones. And I really don't like that because I don't know what he's doing with it. I don't know if he's going to put us on some social media site. I don't know if he's going to stalk us and try to arrest us later. Or I don't know if he's going to do nasty stuff with it. You know what I mean? I just think that was just really weird. And that's all I have to say for today.
Thank you, sir. Next caller.
Lynn Brown, I'll open your mic.
Good evening, Council. Thank you very much for taking my call. Can you guys hear me?
Absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. I've been listening in on a couple of the recent city councils of the last month and a half and so, because I've been wanting to open up a business downtown on Main Street and definitely wanted to get to know the town better. And I have to say that it's very refreshing to hear everybody stepping in tonight and over the last couple of weeks expressing themselves and making their voices heard. The business that I'm looking forward to bringing forth hopefully will be an entertainment kind of venue, but more so in my journeys of my career in music and production and all that, my favorite thing is to help communities come together and have a place to talk and have a place to express and just a real vibrant location where ideas are shared and everybody can have a real presence and a real effect on the environment and the society that we're all living in, the day to day. We all attend the same grocery stores and we shop at the same places, and I'm refreshed to hear. I moved out into the area from the East Coast about 5 years ago, 2015, and then out to Vacaville, and I've been living out here for about 3 or 4 years now, and I've been wanting to open up a business. I've been talking with business development people, fantastic group of folks. They really want to see change come in and have people come in with a positive effect. And that's what I would very much like to do. And over the last couple of weeks, I've also heard the council mentioning helping downtown merchants with some funding. I know that we're talking a lot about money, we're talking a lot about funding, and there are positive ways that I know you guys are trying to make things happen. One of the coolest things I heard was this, I believe the amount was $400,000 for the downtown merchants to be able to survive and take care of the night industry folks like myself and the wait staff and bartenders and sound folks and artists and musicians that have been put out of work from all this. I would love to hear an update on what's happening with that particular project for the funding, and as being a merchant who wants to open something in the near future, obviously the timing will be dictated by COVID and what happens with all that. And we're all going to take extensive care so we keep each other safe. But I was wondering if there might be some update from the council on what that project looks like, what that funding might look like, and if it might also include future merchants like myself that had already been planning on opening something up when all this happened, and that might have affected us too. And thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Do we have any other callers tonight?
Courtney Whitaker, I'll open your mic.
Good evening and thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I'm calling to talk on actually a different subject this evening. Recently, there has been some barriers put up on our city fields through Public Works, and calling to discuss that one, the fact that we are a contracted league currently. They extended our contract through the 23rd. In that contract, it stated that the fields would be playable. And I understand that it's to prevent games. However, our league isn't doing that. We're using it for practices. And, we just feel one, it was never notified. We had a meeting, right before this happened, and it was never announced. It was never put on the agenda for the Public Works. And just transparency is our biggest complaint right now with everyone in the city. And we think that everybody needs to be on the same page notifying people. And our second complaint is liability on, we're still waiting to hear back from our insurance company to make sure that it isn't a liability for these barriers to be on our fields. And, and the other is equity. They were placed at different fields, equality, I should say. At different fields, they were placed in different positions. For baseball fields, they were put at home base, which, really, it could still allow for a game. The softball fields, it's put right in the middle at the pitcher's mound, and it doesn't. They're stating that they will move them. I have been in contact with Reggie, and he's saying that they'll move them back so that the pitchers can still pitch. But at this point, they're still not able for the pitchers to be able to do that, the pitchers and catchers. And a really important position in our sport. And we feel that these girls need to have this outlet. Everything's being taken away. And we recently were given guidelines that allow us to be on these fields. And we just feel that, with our contracts that in a way it's breaching our contract. So, we brought this up at the Public Works. I was personally at that meeting, but it just doesn't seem like it was effective. They put them out the next day. And we just like this looked into for those reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any other callers tonight?
I have no additional callers.
Okay, I'm going to close business from the floor, and we'll move to item 8A. Mr. City Manager, would you like to start that off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. This item is a resolution to vacate excess right-of-way at Chancellor Court. Our Interim Director of Public Works, Tim Burke, will make you a brief presentation.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. I'm going to turn it over to Brian Oxley. He is our new city engineer. Brian?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. We are here for the public hearing to vacate excess right-of-way at Chancellor Court. After my short presentation, there will be an opportunity for the public to comment. Next slide, please. This exhibit shows the location of Chancellor Court and also shows the location of the recently approved Midway Commerce Center project. Next slide. Chancellor Court was dedicated to the city with the recordation of the parcel map for the Interchange Business Park West project in May of 1990. Since construction of the roadway and utilities for the Interchange project, there has been no further development adjacent to Chancellor Court. Next slide. This exhibit shows the proposed layout for the Midway Commerce Center project. The project was approved by the Community Development Director on June 29, 2020. Chancellor Court is in conflict with the proposed buildings located on parcels 3 and 4. Therefore, the developer has requested the city vacate Chancellor Court. Next slide. City staff has determined that Chancellor Court is not needed to serve the project, nor existing or future surrounding development. An appraisal was prepared by Integra Realty Resources of Sacramento on June 27, 2020, which valued the property at $47,500. The developer has agreed to compensate the city this amount. In accordance with Section 8357 of the California Public Streets and Highway Code, the proceeds for vacating this property shall be deposited into accounts used to improve and or maintain the citywide street network. At the July 14th City Council meeting, the public hearing date was set for July 28, 2020. However, the item was continued to tonight's August 11th council meeting. Next slide. There has been an update and the following recital is required to be added to this resolution. Whereas the vacation is made under Section 8335 of the California Public Streets and Highway Code, and that from and after the date the resolution is recorded, Chancellor Court no longer constitutes a street, highway, or public service easement. Next slide. This concludes my presentation. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Anyone from the council want to ask any questions? Seeing none, I'll open public comment. Is there anyone calling in?
No public comment.
Okay, I'll close public comment and open it up for motion.
Move approval.
Second.
I got Harris and Mashburn. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Harris?
Yes.
Mashburn?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beatty?
Aye.
Mayor Roulette?
Aye. And we pulled 9A. So we'll move to 9B. Mr. City Manager, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council. This is an update from our new Economic Development Services Director, Don Burris. He's going to give you a quick update on the status of what's some exciting things happening with our biotechnology initiative. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Burris.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Don Burris here, your Director of Economic Development Services. We wanted to check in today to give you all an update on where we are with implementing the biotech initiative. On this call with me this evening, we also have our consultant, Matt Gardner. I'm going to kick off the presentation, and then Matt's going to actually go into just a little bit of detail of some of the work we've been working on. We've done quite a bit of work to advance out of phase 1 and into phase 2. A lot of that work has been done kind of simultaneously. So I do want to kind of run down a list of those activities that we've been working on that have taken us out of phase 1 and into phase 2. I can't tell you how excited I am about this. We are moving along at a much faster rate than we thought. It seems like things are really lining up for us to really get this project off the ground. So this evening, we're going to give you an update on development of our marketing strategy and the professionals that we're bringing on board to help us with that. We're also going to talk a little bit about the brand that we developed for the initiative, as well as for the nonprofit center. Give you an update on our efforts to establish the nonprofit center. Talk a little bit about our collaboration with Solano Community College, and then all the engagement we've had so far with potential investors. And last, we'll give you an update on the work that we've been doing with our local, state, and federal legislators. And at this point, I'm happy to turn it over to Matt Gardner, our consultant that's working with us on the Life Science Initiative.
Thanks, Don, Mayor Rowlett, and members of council. It's nice to be back with you this evening after a few months of work on the Life Science Plan. I have to say it's been a terrific pleasure working with all the departments in the city that we've come in contact with. Everyone has been incredibly responsive and speedy, and it's just been a real pleasure with everyone kind of rowing in the same direction. Quick, Crystal, if I could go to the next slide. A quick recap of what we talked about the last time, just about putting into the water a new brand, creating a bit of a focus around a particular zone or group of parcels that would be suitable for biomanufacturing. Talk a little bit about the marketing approach that we presented last time and a little more into that, as well as using our convening power with the industry that's already present locally and beyond around the world. Next slide, please. We've been working in, as Don mentioned, in a number of parallel streams, and so this is just the first sort of laying the groundwork of how that brand will unfold to support the efforts to attract industry to Vacaville. We've engaged both a set of supporting marketing services, including a graphic designer, and a law firm to help incorporate the nonprofit and file that with the IRS. And so we're at kind of late stages of, I guess I would call that drafting now, where we're looking through a number of shortlisted drafts of some iconic branding, and we're very excited about what that's going to look like in the very near future. Next slide, please. Obviously, the content that'll be plugged into this effort is largely based on Vacaville playing from strength. The beauty of the industry locally is that biotech started to arrive in town in the 1980s. And so there's a tremendous legacy that's already in place. The industry locally already very well knows the training resources and the reliability and consistency of the young professionals that come out of Solano College and UC Davis. And so that just gets reinforced every day. The partnership with Solano College could not be better. They have been tremendous and open-minded and eager to work on this in new directions, going well beyond what they were doing before. This will be converted into a series of sort of fact sheets about what the industry does locally and what some of those partnerships do for the local industry base, and we'll be using those in external communications. A lot of what we see as the near-term opportunity, basically for at least the rest of this year, is we can conduct through direct outreach. We don't need yet to depend on anything that would look like mass advertising or big splash kind of promotion. We can do this in very direct relationship-based approaches to industry leaders, as well as to real estate concerns that focus on building biotech space. We're set up and basically ready now to do something called a FAM tour, a familiarization tour. Although obviously with lockdowns being what they are, people are very cautious about engaging in that sort of travel. So we've had a few conversations with investors. I'll talk about that again in a second. We may find that there are a few of these between now and the end of the year. Not likely to be a major effort, but they're already underway, I would say. Next slide, please.
If I can jump in just for a second.
Yeah, John, please.
Crystal, can we go back to the previous slide? I kind of want to just give a little bit more clarity around a couple of the issues, and then also give our council members a few bragging points. Our biotechnology program at Solano Community College, it is a nationally recognized program now. The program is so successful that the graduates aren't actually graduating from the program. Many of the life science companies in the Pacific Northwest are literally taking our students when they have 3 to 6 credits left to graduate. And the companies are like, great, we'll take you anyway, no need to graduate, come on board. That's how successful that program is. So we all have something very proud of here within our community. And this is why our biotech initiative, it will be so successful, because we are really creating that next generation of life science workforce. Then I kind of wanted to give a little bit of clarity around direct manufacturer and outreach. What Matt is saying when it comes to our marketing materials, some of the marketing materials we're creating, you're not going to see in the North Bay Business Journal. You're not going to see in the San Francisco Business Times or the local newspapers. We are going to be very specifically targeting the manufacturers and the real estate investment trust organizations that deal very specifically with life sciences and biotechnology. So I tell you that so that when you don't see anything, you don't think, well, gosh, I haven't seen anything, they're not doing anything.
Thanks, Don. And I actually would say that that's the workforce points and the Solano College partnership are largely the next slide. Crystal, go ahead, please. I think we don't have to go very far to point to a nationally and internationally renowned existing center of excellence, thankfully, in that local partnership. In fact, not only is the industry locally in Vacaville hiring these people, they're being hired by companies down in the Bay Area, including BioMarin and Bayer, before they're done. And so one of the best things that we can do is continue to plan increased industry investment locally so that we can keep more of those folks home and get them straight into career opportunities and continue to expand our partnership with, especially with Solano College. It's a very unique program, one of very few community colleges in California granted a baccalaureate program. So that's something that's been recognized around the country by other biotech training partners as well. So we're really proud of the work that they do and the kind of partnership spirit that exists there. Go ahead, next slide. Thanks, Crystal. Interestingly, before we've even started sort of outbound communication and marketing on this, we've been receiving a smattering of investment inquiries from fairly large-scale manufacturers. And so we've had not quite one a month, but roughly one every 5 or 6 weeks of a large biomanufacturing investor come through and express interest in a potential new investment in the area. And it's very clear from those contacts that the depth of the experience in the industry and the very specialized background that creates in the local employment base is recognized by those investors. And so that's been a very reassuring process. We have a few in the pipeline right now. And again, that's been before any active or proactive outreach has begun. And we've even had, I would say, a couple of those kinds of lab developers in an initial conversation. I talked about the familiarization tours. We'll also activate something you heard about from us last time in a sort of a life science advisory board made up of local industry leaders as well. And we'll use that roundtable to cross over a few other industries, including digital health and some of the other things that are happening in the local life science ecosystem. So we're excited about all the sort of can-do spirit we've heard from industry participants in those focus groups we've been running for over a year now locally, and everyone's eager to, again, see the local base grow. It's been a very positive experience. Next slide, please. Of course, the last time we got together, things were just beginning to shut down. We were concerned about what that might do to our program. It actually has led to a surprising conversation about opportunity. And so there's been a tremendous national conversation in the biopharmaceutical industry about bringing some of those projects home. That will lead to more opportunity for us to talk to investors, bringing some of that capacity back to the US. While we've been having that conversation, you heard Don mention, and I'd reinforce again, that we've had to have a number of these discussions in parallel with our own internal discussions with the various agencies across the city to do some of the improvements that we'll need to do in preparation for that. So we can't wait for investors to arrive for some of the improvements that we'll need to make. And we've found local, state, and federal officials very supportive of helping us identify how we can do some of those things in parallel. Just have had tremendous response from all levels of government in helping us think through how to make sure we're anticipating what the industry will require in 3 to 5 years. So I would say sounds like we'll have a tremendous support dialogue with national leadership. The state agencies, including GoBiz, have been eager to help the city with what's going to be next. And I know Don's going to mention something about the county correspondence as well.
I did. I had an opportunity to attend the County Board of Supervisors meeting this morning, and they were very kind to give me a few minutes just to share with them what we have been doing for the last year as a city developing this new economic development initiative. The county was very supportive and actually said they'd be reaching out to us here shortly to come back with our mayor and give a full-on presentation of the initiative. Our Supervisor Vasquez is also very supportive and is offering his support as well to help us garner as much support and federal and state funding to help this project really take off.
Okay, next slide, please. I guess that is the substance of the update for today. I would just say we have a tremendous amount of support from a group of professional services organizations, and as we've emphasized, every agency within the city's administration has just been absolutely fantastic to work with. So we're very excited about being able to continue to report on progress back to you, and it's just been a great experience. So thank you for your time.
I might add too, Mayor and Council, that we feel we're very close to being able to make an official public announcement, and we're looking at all of the issues that we have in front of us, and we think you might be able to do some type of announcement maybe at the end of this month to officially let the world know that the city of Vacaville has this new initiative, and we're looking to work with life science and biotechnology companies. And with that, that concludes our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We're all very excited about this. Great presentation. I wanted to thank you personally. It's been a joy to go to all these meetings with you and talk to all the people that we've been talking to. I just appreciate your drive to get this out and going. Thank you very much. Any other council members want to speak before I open it up to public comment?
A real quick comment from Sullivan.
Yes, sir. Please, Mr. Sullivan. Councilmember Sullivan.
Sort of echo the comments from the mayor. I mean, I really do appreciate the effort you guys are putting in here. And I think this really is the path forward for Vacaville. And this is the path to a quick recovery. And, I think that we have to really look at return on investment and what we're doing in Vacaville to create revenue long-term to subsidize our constituents' needs. And I think this is the industry we have to pursue for a variety of reasons. So really love the presentation today. I am anxious for some wins or some notches under our belt. So, I'm hoping we start talking about landing some new businesses and things we're going to do very soon, but ultimately very excited today, and I really appreciate the strategy. I think I said this last time, if there's things that you guys need, if you need funding for advertising or funding for public artwork to display the reason as the biohub, or if you need funding for staff or funding for whatever, I know the budget is tight right now, but this is one of those areas where a dollar invested could pay off with, 20-fold. And so please don't hesitate to ask. And as much as we can get this strategy up and moving quickly, I'm all about it. So thank you for your hard work. But let's very supportive of this, but anything we could do to expedite, move along, speed up, kind of help, please let us know. You guys are doing fantastic work.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, council member.
Thank you, council member.
Any other council members? Seeing none, this was just an information. We'll move on to item 9C. Mr. City Manager, do you want to start it off, or do you want me to hand it over to the chief?
What is it?
Mayor, I think someone's, Crystal, are you checking in?
Crystal, do we have callers? I'm sorry. I apologize.
No problem.
Okay, go ahead. Open up the floor. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Caller, are you there?
Ian, are you there?
Caller?
Either there's a technical issue or the caller.
We can wait a second. We want to make sure his voice is heard. Ian, are you there, sir? I don't see him. Can you?
We can probably go ahead and move on.
Okay, thank you. We'll move to item 9C. I was going to ask Mr. City Manager, did you want to start it, or do you want to give it right to the chief?
I'll just turn it over to the chief as usual. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Chief Conception, are you there?
Yes, I am. Good morning, or good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, Chief. Go ahead.
Okay, so as usual, I'm going to start off with the latest numbers and then go on to the state and county, and then move on to more local to the city as far as what's going on. Let's see, presentation's not up yet. Crystal? There we go. Next slide, please, Crystal. Okay, so with the latest numbers, as far as California, as of today, it's over 574,000 cases in the state, nearly 10,500 deaths, and on the good or some positive news on the 14-day positivity, as far as the state is concerned, it's running at 6.1%, so that's down 1.4% from the last time I reported 2 weeks ago. When we go to Solano County, there's been the last 2 weeks, there has been an additional 950 cases, bringing the total to 4,338. And there's 221 active cases with 37 people hospitalized right now. And there have been the last 2 weeks, 5 more deaths in the county, bringing the total fatalities from COVID to 41. And another positive as well here in the county also, last reported that 7-day positivity rate was 5.8% 2 weeks ago, and it is now down to 4.1%. So hopefully we can keep those numbers down where they are. And then as far as Vacaville is concerned, we are up to 742 cases. That's an increase of 164 cases in the last 2 weeks. Next slide, please. Over the last 2 weeks, as far as the state is concerned, the state has not much has happened really as far as new guidance. They've issued some youth sports guidance, and they also on the same day issued in-person school waiver process. When it comes to youth sports, they clarified what is and isn't allowed, and I'll speak a little bit more on that on the next slide as far as what we've done in the city of Vacaville specifically, and we had a member of the public speak to that already. And one of the things that this guidance that was issued made very clear was that there were no games and no scrimmages allowed by as far as any of the youth leagues were concerned. And then moving on to the in-person school waiver process, this doesn't really pertain to Solano County because there are still 38 counties, including Solano, that are on the watch list. And that in-person school waiver process only pertains to those right now, only pertains to those counties that are not on the watch list. Solano County is in the process of developing that waiver process, and as soon as Solano County drops off that watch list, then our schools can go through that process to do in-person school. So right now, as most of us know, in-person school is not going to be allowed in the fall. It's going to all be distance learning. And as I just mentioned, there are 38 counties that are still on the watch list, including us. There was a news story, I believe it was last week, and Dr. Matias, our public health officer, had indicated in that story that it's going to be very difficult because of the criteria that's required for us to drop off that list. It's going to be very difficult for Solano to come off, and he wasn't real hopeful, but we can keep hoping on that. As far as the order, there has been no change in the last 2 weeks as far as the business guidance is concerned and the prohibitions. So we're still the city is processing the applications for those businesses that want to move their businesses outdoors. We're processing those applications as quickly as possible. You may have heard in the last week, the big news was the state database was broken, and that the data that they were putting out could have been incorrect. We have been assured and reassured by the state that that glitch has been fixed, and the data that's coming out now is absolutely accurate. We've also had some questions about the eviction moratorium. We get these questions every now and then. Our eviction moratorium the council took on a while ago expired in May. However, the county has an eviction moratorium that is still in place and has no end date. So there still is, essentially, because we're under the county, that eviction moratorium still is in place. Next slide, please. Now, moving on to the city, I'm going to start off with a couple pieces of good news, and then we'll move on to the bad news. Good news first: the CARES Act funding. The city received the first payment as far as our CARES Act funding is concerned. As I understand it, finance said that it's roughly $200,000 out of a total of what we're expecting to be about $1.2 million in CARES Act funding. This will be brought back to the council at a future meeting to determine exactly how this is going to be expended and used to help the community as a whole as a result of COVID. And then as out of our Parks and Rec, because it's going to be all distance learning, childcare was starting to become an issue. So our TGIF program, or our before and after school program, thank goodness it's fun program. It's going to be a full day program from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. to help those people, those parents that have to go to work and still provide childcare for their children. And the programs are going to be available at 7 schools, and we expanded it also to Ulatis Community Center. And thanks to the help of BUSD, we've increased that capacity to a total of 160 students. The staff there, so we're set up. The staff there will assist the students in connecting to the virtual classroom, so we'll help them with their distance learning, and they're also going to provide enrichment activities before and after their virtual classroom time. The program, they're going to be, obviously COVID protocol is going to be in place. They're not going to have more than 10 students per room. Masks will be required, and Parks and Rec has assured me that they did go out and do a survey of all the parents that want to participate in this program, in the TGIF program, and they did say that 90% of the parents are okay with the state mask mandate, so the kids will have to be required to wear masks. Now, moving on to the ball fields. I'd spoken about August 3rd. The state issued some guidance as far as youth sports was concerned. It listed those activities that were allowed and those activities that were not allowed. And the activities that were allowed, as far as the youth sports guidance from the state as well as from the county, is practice, or I should say practice. What it allowed is physical conditioning. So physical conditioning is, example is running, calisthenics, and different things that will help as far as physical activity is concerned. What was not allowed was the sharing of equipment amongst kids that are not family members, unless that equipment could be sanitized between each use. And in the meantime, what was happening was we were getting numerous reports of either teams from within the city, and then we were also getting reports from teams outside of the city that were coming in and using our ball fields for unapproved or unsanctioned actual scrimmages or full-on ball games. So in the interest of trying to find a way where we can encourage, we realize how important physical activity is for our kids, and we want them to be able to engage in that. So we had to find a way where we could prevent any of those full-on games from happening. And so what we arrived at was putting in the traffic barriers. They're 6 foot long, 32 inches high, and about 18 inches wide. They're like traffic barriers that you see on the streets to guide traffic. When filled with water, they weigh about 1,000 pounds, so they should not be easily moved. And we had asked, and we had planned that they were going to be put in a place somewhere in front of the pitcher's mound, so that all the activities that were allowed by state guidance was still able to be done. In fact, when we were placing these barriers at Larson Field, I spoke with a softball parent there who had several of her family members, girls that were practicing softball, and they were still able to play catch and practice their pitching and catching and running, and they just couldn't have full on games. So that's why we placed those traffic barricades at all of the fields. We placed them at all 22 ball fields. I know we've gotten some negative comments, both on social media. We've got some complaints coming in as to why we would do this. I just want to make it clear to the public that our ball fields are not closed. I mean, there's been a lot of comments that the ball fields are closed and they can't be used for practice. That's absolutely not true. We're encouraging our kids, and we're encouraging our youth sports leagues to go out there and use our fields for the physical activity that is allowed. What we want to prevent is the full-on games that are happening, because if the state has these enforcement strike teams that they're out and about, and if they see that we're allowing those full-on games from happening, we may be forced to close our fields, and we don't want to be forced to close our fields. We want to keep our fields open. So I just want to make that perfectly clear. Our fields are open, and we're encouraging physical activity to take place. if you are family members, play catch, continue to practice those things. And we're just asking our residents in our community to enjoy our fields, enjoy our parks, but just do so safely and in compliance with the state orders. And then moving on to, you might wonder why I have heat wave there as a bullet statement, but just monitoring the weather. There's a heat wave coming in that's going to hit us here, and we have a cooling. We have a threshold where if we have 2 or more days of 105 degrees or more, we have to open up a cooling center. Obviously, with COVID, that's going to look a little different than what a cooling center normally looks like. We have those. We're monitoring the weather closely. And if we have to open a cooling center, we will. We've got a plan in place, and we will put that in place and make sure that any of our residents or any of our community that needs the use of a cooling center, that they will have one available if we reach those thresholds. And next slide, please. I believe that concludes my presentation, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any council comments? Hearing none, is there anybody from the public that called in?
Courtney, I will open your mic.
Thank you.
Hello, am I unmuted?
Yes, I hear you. Go ahead.
Evening. Just wanted to say one more time about these barriers in regards to what Chris Concepcia was stating. The pictures that were out there were older girls. Some of our league have 6, 8, and 10U players, and they can't pitch over those barriers. So as much as we don't like them on our field, if we could at least just get Public Works to work with us and move them back so our little pitchers can still get the pitching and catching skills in that they need to continue, we'd really appreciate that. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other callers tonight?
I see no additional hands.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Chief Concepcion, for the report. We'll move to item 10, report to City Manager.
I have nothing this evening.
Okay, we'll move to item 11, reports to City Council. Anyone from the council want to speak on any item tonight?
I have a couple items.
Okay, sir. Councilmember Sullivan, go ahead.
So the first item, and I probably could have gone on the last item. Do we have any update on the business support program, and where are we at with that? And is there anything we can do to speed that up and get those funds out the door?
So I'll take the first stab at that. Right now, the funds that were allocated towards the Small Business Assistance Program, as well as the Senior Meals Program, was coming from CDBG CARES Act money. And that requires an action plan that is prepared and submitted to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, otherwise known as HUD. And so unfortunately that process takes a little bit of time, but our Housing Services Director, Emily Cantu, is working with them to see where that's at and help them speed up our application processing so that we can get the approval and get that money out to the businesses that need that. In the meantime, Emily and her team, along with Tim Patton from our Economic Development Department, is working on the application, the criteria, and putting out the marketing materials with our Big Four partners in the chamber and our downtown bid group, so that when we do get the approval, we'll be ready to roll and release those funds.
Awesome, thank you. If we do foresee big federal delays, which sometimes do happen, can you let us know, and then maybe we can kind of map out a plan B? There was some discussion about the first shot of CARES money, maybe kind of use some CARES money to front load the funding. It's just every day I'm hearing stories of businesses closing and business owners laying people off, and we're going on month 6, and we just the feds have kind of given up at this point with unemployment benefits and payroll protection loans. If there's anything we can do to speed this up, that would be awesome. But thank you for that update. Two more quick updates. I wanted to share a quick update with the council. Aaron, would it be okay for me to talk about the 2x2 now? Is that?
Yes.
So Vice Mayor Beatty and I had a 2x2 again. So we actually took about a month and a half moratorium. The county wanted to sort out their budget and kind of figure out some things and basically asked to postpone some meetings. So we had our first meeting via Zoom last week in about a month and a half, almost 2 months for the homeless 2x2. And it was an interesting meeting. We kind of made a couple steps forward and a couple steps back. The last discussion we had with you all, there was some consensus from the four of us on moving forward with some community discussions and to find a facilitator and to maybe start doing some of those community discussions this summer. That discussion sort of changed last week, not really on the city side, but more on the county side. There is still the interest to do that, but there were some concerns about kind of heightened emotions right now during COVID and election season and some other things that there were some concerns about. Maybe it's not the right time to engage folks on a topic like homelessness that can be kind of incendiary. But they did request that maybe we get a kind of a tighter, closer working relationship. And so at the next 2x2, we're actually going to have several staff there from both the city and the county to present on options with Project Home Key and Project Room Key, the two state funding programs to either buy a motel or rent motel rooms. And then also sort of kind of a shared framework for how we could address homeless services together. So sort of resetting of the relationship, if you will. I think this will be the first time we've had electeds and staff meeting to discuss homeless services issues in probably almost 2 years or maybe over 2 years. So at the next 2x2 that we've scheduled on the 19th, Vice Mayor Beatty and myself will be meeting with staff as well as the electeds as well as county staff to discuss some next steps. So we'll bring back some more information at that point in time. Wanted to see if you guys had any questions on that, or Vice Mayor Beatty, did I sum that up about right?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, and then
Councilman Sullivan, is there one other item you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, my last point was it kind of relates to some of the comments earlier today and also some of the mayor's comments. I really thought the discussion that we had with the police department, the city, and the community a few weeks back was a very, very difficult and delicate discussion to have. And I think it was a really raw and emotional discussion. And I think that I really do appreciate the police chief going out on a limb to have that discussion. It wasn't going to be a comfortable discussion or an easy discussion. And I know that the outcome of the discussion may not have been what some folks want, but I do think it was a step in the right direction. And it takes open dialogue and it takes communication to resolve these issues. We're going to keep having protests and we're going to keep having people marching and people coming to meetings and talking to us until they feel like they have a voice and they feel like they're heard. And I think that we cracked that door open a couple weeks back. And I think as a city, we did something that not a lot of cities were willing to do. And we started that communication. So what I'm kind of saying today is that I would encourage my fellow council members and the police chief and the city staff to continue these discussions. And so whether that's future town halls, it's focus groups, it's committees, we bring in some sort of professional facilitator, whatever we need to do to continue this communication and continue this very vital discussion for many of our neighbors of color in Vacaville that don't feel heard, don't feel comfortable, and don't feel like they have a voice. We need to keep going. And so I want to thank staff for their efforts. I know there was some negative feedback that was received, and sometimes that's hard to want to partner and move forward. But I think we're moving in the right direction, and that the only way we go forward together is as a community, and we need to keep talking to do that. So this isn't really asking anything of my peers, but it's really more of an encouragement to staff, to the police chief, to the community to continue this dialogue, and please schedule future sessions, and please keep this communication and conversation alive. And that's all I got for today.
All right, thank you, sir. I don't think there's any other comments. We can move to item 12A, payment of claims. I'll entertain motion.
Move approval.
And I'll second it. That's Mashburn Roulette. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Harris?
Yeah.
Mashburn?
Aye.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Beatty?
Aye.
Mayor Roulette?
Aye. We will move to closed session. We do have item 13A and B. There will be nothing to report out. Is that correct, Ms. City Attorney?
That's correct.
Thank you. Good night, Vacaville.